How's it going, everybody? So, the Ad Mortem abomination. Let's talk about what Ubisoft has shown us in The Last Warriors then. At this point, I've rewritten this intro a couple of times because all my jokes have gotten out of hand. So I don't really know how to really start this. I can't quite believe that this is actually what they're giving us to test. Well, let's start with something positive, actually. The way that Alex showcased the rework was great. Kudos to him, showing the Longarm on Lawbringer, for example, and in general a lot of moves while he was talking about it. But this is sadly where my praise stops. This whole rework has to be some form of social experiment or something. It's like that one Simpsons episode where Homer gets to design a car. In our case here, they went on Reddit, took notes of whatever nonsense those guys spouted, and then implemented it. I honestly cannot believe this is real. The sheer hypocrisy we see right now. Not from Ubisoft, but the community. Here, these meme pictures kept popping up a few hours after the stream, and it's comical how true they are. If any of this shit were to be implemented on any other hero, the community would lose their shit. The bias is so immense. But let's just go over all these changes, and while we're doing that, you guys imagine the same changes on a samurai hero. Just do that. Or any non-knight, basically. So first, all the new chains. So, a triple light chain. They said these are new animations, and Vanessa also confirmed that it's harder to work with older animation and adjust them. And alright, Lawbringer also has two different top stances, left top and right top. So the chains need to look different. I get it. This is more work. And maybe I'm overreacting here, but these look like an absolute pain to deal with. Maybe it's because it's new and my brain can only associate these with the old chains. So instead of fully seeing the new ones, my brain tricks me by filling in the old transitions. I don't know, who knows? Our brains do troll us sometimes, at least mine does. But what my brain just cannot comprehend is how people are accepting this. There should be pitchforks and torches everywhere. But I guess they did remove the enhanced property. Beats me, whatever, they should have kept that, I don't know. Everyone's dodging out of it anyway, so what difference does it make? Fair enough. Triple light chain. How do the other chains look like? For one, we have confirmed lights after the heavies. That's an extra 4 on every landed heavy. Somewhat whatever, but makes ganking a whole lot easier since he extends the hitstone. Well, it's not just the neutral heavies, they also kept it for the combo heavies, at least the top ones. We're looking at 36 damage heavies here. Not only that, these loop back into another unblockable, which obviously confirms another light, which then goes back into the unblockable. 36 damage looping orange moves. Conquerors unblockable heavies to 22. Let me spell this out. That's 2 2s next to each other. And Lawbringer is a 3 and a 6. You see that, kids? That is a difference of 14. Just in case you hadn't advanced that far in school yet. But hey, it's on Lawbringer, so it's fine to have this looping orange mix-up that does a crap ton of damage. It's totally fine. It's only on top, right? Like what? It's absurd how much damage it is. Orange into orange is fine. But holy shit, 36 damage is ridiculous. Alright, next. Feintable Inchain bash. This animation, this is not it. This thing needs to go. This is not okay. Rarely have I ever heard anyone speak about their job with such enthusiasm as I've heard Vanessa speak. But no. Please, no. Not only does this look terrible, Lawbringer doesn't need it. Stop with the Feintable bashes. We've had enough now. Look at Conqueror. He has one. And what happens? People fucking dodge attack it every single time. George now has one. And he will have to deal with that shit too. Oh, I forgot. That's fixed now since it's a light parry punish. Oh, my bad. I understand why a slower bash is more appealing here. A fast, unfeintable bash requires a read before you see the other person doing anything. A slower, feintable bash requires a read after you've seen the startup of it. It's much easier for bad players to understand this, and they are also more forgiving with the complaints about these sort of moves. This interaction is not lost on me. But this thing, scrap it. Just go, make it go away. If I have to guess whether the guy's attacking me or if they're having a seizure, then I'd rather them be mindful of their own health and not do it. I'm not going to lie, it seems extremely hard to salvage this animation here, so please don't. You'll be fine without it. And for everybody suggesting to use Longarm instead, I'll get to you in just a second. But first, the important bit about Longarm. It is safe now. No more guard break and no more uncounterable light. Alex hasn't shown the light, but I assume they addressed this as well. But what this incredibly fast chain link after Longarm now allows for, well, way better ganks. The issue before was that the wake up armor allowed for very little wiggle room to land additional attacks and confirm something with shove, for example. The fact that the opponent was in neutral and armored was also the reason for it being unsafe. So with them fixing this, the gank became much more forgiving. We are looking at a Magi Staff Bash roughly. Not as asinine with the defense down and the Venge Lock, but here is the kicker. This move now should be very much loopable. Just from the showcase here, I assume that we can confirm another Longarm with a landed heavy plus block light quite easily. Now, if they allowed for Longarm to be used Inchain, this becomes even more egregious. So fuck no, please no Inchain Longarm. If this is supposed to be the ganking tool, then at least make it less forgiving. I know this is not a good argument since enough practice will still allow for it to be made into a 1-on-2-0 gank, but it is a start. Maybe I'm overreacting here, but this new Longarm just reeks of a 100-0 gank. Then Impale. For the love of God, remove it from heavy parries. Just get rid of it. Make it light parry only, or even better, just make it a sprint attack only. This is absurd, even with the reduced damage. So Impale does 1 damage. Top heavy does 20. Then I assume you can do the light riposte for 4, so we have 25 damage into unblockable pressure. Thank fucking God the stun is gone, but it is still a really strong heavy parry punish. In duels, there are walls everywhere. Not reaching a wall happens less than reaching one. And in 4s, there are still hazards everywhere. He carries you quite far, and even if the wall splat on early release is gone, this changes very little in my opinion. And I also assume that Longarm is still guaranteed, and with a buffed Longarm, this is not just 25 damage heavy parry, now it is a 28 damage heavy parry. That is more than a light parry on many characters. Yeah, it takes more stamina, but that's irrelevant here. Lawbringer just stands there and waits for the next parry opportunity anyways. We're back to not wanting to fucking attack this character, because his punishes are still absolutely absurd. Well, speaking of parrying, no wall nearby? Well, no problem. 16 damage light riposte it is. Like, what the fuck? This move is insanely fast. In team fights or in outnumbered situations, getting these really fast ripostes in is extremely convenient. Why in God's name is that thing doing 16 damage? Like, Zerka's does 13. Nush's does 15 and is much slower. Lawbringer's is 3 times faster than Nush's and does more damage. Like, what the actual fuck? And then, the Mortem, there we go. 29 damage light parry punch. Well, fair, 29 is high, still okay. But then, the stun. How do you remove the stun from all other moves but still keep it here? How is this even happening? It's an awful mechanic nowadays. There are even whole threads suggesting to tweak that mechanic to darken instead of blinding you. And you have gradually removed stuns from more and more moves. But now this abomination here gets to keep it? Then why not double the stamina drain as well? I mean, thank fucking God that one's gone. But having made it this far into the presentation, well, that was a surprise. I fully expected to see stamina drain again. So yeah, then at this point the hyper armored heavies were already obvious to everybody watching since Alex has thrown enough heavies. But here you go, hyper armor on all chain heavies including the unblockables. Because the community hates it on everybody but wants it on Lawbringer, so it just makes sense at this point. The only armored unblockables are charged ones and Zerkas at the moment. Not even JJ has them. But hey, why wouldn't the 36 damage unblockable not be armored on Lawbringer? And I can't tell you how much I love to see the dodge attack there interrupting him. It so nicely highlights the problem that was not addressed with the dodge TG changes that are coming next week. Because this right here is the problem, and not the fact that some can only be punished with a heavy parry punish. But I digress. Zone attack then. Well, that one was great change. Higher recovery and it acts as a chain starter. Perfect. We're keeping that. No complaints from me. But okay, you guys know me. I use a lot of hyperbole for these rant type videos here. Obviously, this is just me, I don't know, getting into the flow of things. I'll turn it down a notch for a minute. This thing, what we have here right now, is not okay. This is what a Rep 30 Lawbringer, a Rep 30 overall type player would come up with after they asked their Facebook Deus Volt group. High Barmer Heavies, Feintable Longarm type Inchain bash, absolutely insane damage numbers because a parry specialist, you know, and so on. What about some of the actual problems with Lawbringer? Where's the roll catcher? Are you telling me his heavies now track like parrots walk the plank? What is his neutral game? Alex showcased it nicely when he did the shove and the forward dodge light and heavies. It was a nice showcase of the really low forward dodge recovery. And that will be enough against the vast majority of players, but he will still stare a lot at the top level. Not as much as in the past before the buffs a few weeks back, but he still does not have a great neutral game. I would have loved if Ubisoft tinkered with that a little more, instead of going absolutely bonkers with the damage numbers and giving him these absurdly strong orange moves that keep chaining. I'm all for offense, don't get me wrong. The character was unhealthy for so long. I hate that we are now taking steps back into this territory. If you watched my videos for a long time, you know I sometimes use weird names for heroes, like I call Jormungandr George. There is a nickname for pretty much everybody, but some are just stupid, so I only use a select few. And Lawbringer, his is Big Boss from back when he was the absolute god tier hero. And now he's the hugest of bosses without what we've seen here. This rework is not okay, it just isn't. It's thankfully a testing round, but those should ideally also be fun. I don't want to play this version of the character. I honestly don't, and even less do I want to face one. And that is sad, because I might miss things if I don't play it, but you won't find me playing something I dislike. And if more players are like this, then the feedback will also be bad. So I implore you, Ubisoft, please don't give us testing rounds with these numbers. We've seen it with Jormungandr, and I love the approach you took with him in the damage department. It's great foundation we can improve on now, because I'm not saying they're perfect just yet, but I don't want to go through the same thing with Lawbringer again. I want him to be a good hero and a fun hero for everybody. I don't see this rework here being that thing. So yeah, I don't really want to say much more really. I'll save that for when we actually get to test Lawbringer. I mean, I will play him obviously. But I hope this is not the version we get to play. It's just too strong in the wrong ways. I'll leave you with that. Hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.